Hi everybody and welcome back to All Day Tea Party. I'm your host, Snowy Goodman, and here we're going to figure life out together, ask the big questions, learn more about ourselves, and remember not to take ourselves too seriously in the process. So we are back, episode 15. We love to see it. I did take a little, well, I'm going to say like I took a little hiatus, but it was literally 1 week. But we're back in business. Very excited for today's episode. So I'm actually recording during the day right now, and I never really record during the day that much. Like it's usually like evenings to like nights, but we're trying a different vibe, and I feel like, I feel good. I feel fresh. I just ate breakfast. I had my little coffee. Like I'm ready to rock and roll. Like full of life, if you will. So very happy to be here. Welcome back. This week's episode is going to be fun. The YouTube video for this episode is going to be up on the 12th. No, sorry, that's a lie. On the 18th of March. So that's Monday, March 18th. I'm going to be posting little clips and stuff like that all on the Instagram and the TikTok in the coming days. So you will get your content fix. I also wanted to make a comment on the Instagram, definitely plan on making more content there. I've just been here, there, and everywhere, all over the place. One thing about me is I'm always doing something. So I feel like there's 8 million projects that I want to do. And I've been trying to dedicate time for this one, that one. And so I'm going to be focusing more on the Instagram and the YouTube and podcast content. So do not worry. Okay, guys, so we're going to hop right into pop culture because so for those of you who aren't on Twitter, just look this up. It's the Kate Middleton conspiracy theory. That something was going on, she was missing. So I think I saw it for the first time, I want to say a month ago, and people were because she just hadn't been seen out and about in public since late December or something. And the palace released a statement and they were she's recovering from some sort of abdominal surgery, which at the time I was oh, maybe she just got her appendix removed or some shit, whatever. But then I was this is the same woman who was posing for the camera all looking good right after giving birth, but whatever, not my business, whatever, it's fine. And so people on the internet were joking around and being haha, maybe she got a BBL, maybe she got some sort of cosmetic surgery that would have her to kind of be in hiding and have us not see her. Whatever, the jokes are happening. On Sunday, they released a photo and it was basically Kate is just here spending time with her family, thanks for the concern, whatever. Guys, I'm going to link this photo on the Instagram. Guys, this photo was absolutely botched. The Photoshop looked awful. The hands looked weird, parts of so it was her and the kiddos. So parts of their bodies looked weird. It looked like it was giving messed up AI and Photoshop. It looked a mess. And then this is actually comical to me because this makes no sense, but they released another statement and they were oh my gosh, Kate's so sorry. She was just playing around with Photoshop and accidentally botched it. And I was you expect me to believe that Miss Princess of Wales is twiddling on her little computer playing around with Photoshop and then is releasing the botched Photoshop photos? Be serious. But this is the thing. So then what was it? I think it was yesterday I saw that a kill notice was released by a couple of news outlets, specifically the Associated Press and other outlets. And I looked up what a kill notice was, and basically it says, according to BBC, a kill notification is an industry, a PR industry term used to make a retraction. So basically they were once we took a closer look at this, we realized the photo had been manipulated, so we're retracting it. Which OMG, oh my gosh. And then that got me thinking, I'm okay, wait, where is Miss Kate Middleton? At first it was haha, big joke, but now I'm where is she? This is very, very interesting. And I don't know, the royals I always have had gotten bad vibes from them, especially since the Harry and Meghan thing. And you know what? And I also I don't understand what is going on in the palace now that Charles is in charge. Because when Queen Elizabeth was there, things were wrapped tight. This would not have been happening. I don't know. Like, part of me is like, did Queen Elizabeth just stay alive so long because she knew Charles was halfway useless and things would go to like absolute mess once she left? Because what is this? You know what I mean? Like, they're not even doing a good job at like covering up what could be happening. So yeah, that's basically like the big pop culture thing. I also like think it's a little funny because I saw an article being like, respect Kate's privacy. And I was like, where was the energy from Meghan Markle? LOL. Like, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, ultimately, like, I hope Kate's okay. But I'm very curious. Like, I think some mess is going on. So I don't know. Like I said, I think the fact that like she just hasn't been seen like at all for the last couple months is like a little weird. And then the weird like Photoshop photo they posted on her Instagram. And I'm saying they post on her Instagram because I'm like, I don't know, like, did she post that? I don't know. Who knows? Like, I don't know. I think something weird and something shady is going on. And I think that if Queen Elizabeth was still alive, this would not be happening. But Lord knows what else is going on. I also haven't like heard much about Charles or Camilla eye roll. So like I said, we just like don't really know what's going on with the royals right now. But like I said, like ultimately I hope Kate's okay. And I always got a bad vibe from William. So okay, then my next pop culture thing is, if you guys remember from last episode with Sweet Sweet Avery, when we were talking about Sex and the City, we had mentioned Risa Tisa and her Who the Fuck Did I Marry series. It was just a little refresher. It was a 50-part TikTok series where she goes into like this man who literally lied about everything, and she was like, literally, who did I marry? Like, he's crazy. So there ended up being a part 51 and 52, I believe. And of course I watched them, and it was just basically like a follow-up of what's been going on. But honestly, Miss Risa Tisa has been like doing her thing. Like, I know that she like was signed to an agency. She was on a couple talk shows. Like, I'm just glad she's like finding success in this. I wish her happiness, love, and light. So yeah, I think that's really interesting and I'm happy for her. And final note, so as you guys all know, you can like hop back to like episode like 3 or 4, like your girl struggles when it comes to seasonal depression. Like, I was down bad, but our clocks did a little forward motion this Sunday. So hashtag war is over. We are so back. I am so excited. The sun was out at like 7 o'clock. I was like, I can't wait. I can't wait for the summer. I can't wait for the sun to be out till like 8. And I'm going to be outside hanging out, like sipping my drinks with the girls. Like, oh, summer is just the best season ever, guys. Like, you have no idea. And I feel like usually I'm like meh about spring, but like I have a really good feeling about this spring. Like, I'm actually feeling very hopeful like about spring in general. So I'm really excited. But like summer is where it's at, guys. Like, I thrive. I'm talking my skin's glowing. I'm glistening. My outfits are better. Like, I am just slaying the day consistently in the summer. Like, you can even look at my Instagram and like notice how I like always am posting more in the summer because I just look better in the summer. Like, again, a slay and a half all summer long, and we are just one step closer to that. Like, once we get past like 8, because I think like especially like in Boston, like March is still pretty cold, like April's still pretty chilly as well. But once we get to May, after Memorial Day, I'm gonna be outside consistently. So excited. But okay, that was it for pop culture. So we are breaking up today's episode into 2 parts. So I'm going to honestly be talking about like the 2 things that have just kind of been either consuming my social media or consuming my life. So we are talking about the Oscars and just like award season in general. And then we're going to talk about like all the reality TV shows I've been watching. I will be putting the timestamps in the show notes. So if you don't really want to listen to the reality TV part, I'll put the show notes, I'll put that there. If you don't want to listen to the Oscars part, I'll do the same. So whatever, let's get right into it. So the Oscars. So let's just start with best dress. So the people I thought were best dressed: Carey Mulligan, gorgeous, groundbreaking, beautiful. If you don't know who that is, she was in that movie Promising Young Woman. Next up, and she was also in Saltburn, actually. And there's more movies. I just like recognize her the most from Promising Young Woman. So next we have Jennifer Lawrence. I love polka dots. I've always loved polka dots. I just think she looked really pretty. She looked absolutely gorgeous. Eva Longoria, beautiful. She's also, I honestly think her and the entire cast of Desperate Housewives, they're all aging so beautifully. They still just look amazing. Next up, we have America Ferrera. I definitely think Margot Robbie's done with the whole Barbie press tour, which is really sad because those outfits looked so good. She looked so cute. But I loved how America was wearing her pink dress. It honestly, the silhouette was so flattering. I'm usually not a huge fan of sequins, but you could tell the dress was so detailed, so beautiful, and she just looked amazing. I also love her little bob. She just slay and a half. And finally, I thought Gabrielle Union and her husband looked so good on the red carpet. I like when couples are on the red carpet together. I think it's really cute. And this is a weird thing I have, but I get I get really annoyed when the woman in a couple looks gorgeous and the man's just kind of there. So it's nice to see they look like they're going the same place. They both look as if they've got it together, and I think they looked gorgeous together. And I know they weren't matching, but I said, they looked their outfits looked like they went together, which I really appreciated. Okay, to the awards themselves. Okay, we can just go award by award. We might as well. So for actor in leading role, Cillian Murphy won for Oppenheimer. Next, we have actor in supporting role, Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer. Comment on Robert Downey Jr. So for those of you who did not know, Robert DJ has had a history of substance abuse. He had been in rehab. He had just had a really tough time. This is honestly about 20 something years ago. So we if you're my age, we were barely walking when this was happening. But he really turned it around. He's incredibly successful. I'm under the impression that this is his first Oscar, but of course Jimmy Kimmel gets up there and is making really insensitive jokes. First of all, none of his jokes were funny. Even the joke about Emma Stone and Poor Things, he was just being a prick. He was just not funny. But he went up there, and I will just read what he said. In honestly, I just think jokes about anybody's sobriety in general is just really ugly. But the first part of the joke was, this is the highest point of Robert Downey Jr.'s long and illustrious career. Well, one of the highest points. That was not necessary. And then you Robert Downey Jr., he kind of touches his nose and is And then Jimmy continues and says, is that too on the nose, or is that a drug motion you're making? And I think at this point, RDJ just looked really annoyed. And I think everybody was just kind of this is not funny, Jimmy. Shut up. And I said, I just don't think it's funny to joke about people's sobriety at all. And I thought the joke was in very bad taste. I also just don't think Jimmy Kimmel's funny. So there's that. Next up, the Oscar winners. We have actress in leading role, Emma Stone, Poor Things. I watched Poor Things and I enjoyed it. I understand the critiques of the film, but I really do like it. I do think this award was well deserved. I know a lot of people thought Lily Gladstone from Killers of a Flower Moon should have gotten the award. Unfortunately, I did not watch that movie. I will watch the movie. But I don't know. I thought Emma Stone did a great job in Poor Things. I think she's an amazing actress, and a lot of movies she's been in I love. Next up, we have actress in a supporting role. We have Davine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers. I've heard very good things about this movie. I know it's on Peacock, so another movie I need to watch. And then, honestly, next up, we have animated feature film, The Boy and the Heron. Another movie I did not watch. Cinematography, Oppenheimer. Costume design, Poor Things, which I thought was a lot of fun. Directing, Oppenheimer. Documentary feature film, 20 Days in Mariupol. Documentary short film, The Last Repair Shop. Film editing, Oppenheimer. International feature film, The Zone of Interest. Makeup and hairstyling, Poor Things. Also, I think is very well deserved. Music, Oppenheimer. Interesting, okay. Music, original song, What Was I Made For, from the Barbie movie by Billie Eilish, won. Best Picture, Oppenheimer. Production design, Poor Things. Animated short film, War is Over, inspired by the musical of John and Yoko. Live action short film, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Sound, Zone of Interest. Visual effects, Godzilla -1. I didn't even know that was a movie. Writing, American Fiction. Writing, original screenplay, The Anatomy of a Fall. And I think one of the screenplay writers of this went to my alma mater. I don't know. I saw something about it on LinkedIn. Like, anytime somebody from my alma mater does things, like it's all over LinkedIn. It's all over their Instagram. I need to double check. But okay. Obviously, we can tell that Oppenheimer kind of did like a full sweep. Like, Oppenheimer was the bee's knees this year. I have not watched Oppenheimer for a lot of reasons. When like Barbie and Oppenheimer came out, I was all for Barbie. I've seen Barbie twice. I was like, I have no interest in watching a 3-hour movie about this random white man. I'm sorry. Barbie was so much more fun. And like, I'm definitely somebody that like, sometimes I just want to watch fun things. And I think that's where I like kind of resonated a little bit more with Barbie. But this is like a little bit different. I struggle with watching media about the atomic bombs that does not center the victims of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because I just think like those events were so, like, it was just so vile and like destructive and honestly like straight up evil what happened. And I find it like very hard to like even want to know about like Robert Oppenheimer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like I said, I struggle to like watch media about it. From my understanding, like the film like goes into like how he felt like about the destruction that could take place. But then I did a little deep dive and Oppenheimer like never apologized for that. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know, like just, it doesn't sit right with me. So I never watched it. It is a little hard for me to watch media about that because of how destructive it was. Like I said, that does not center like the victims of the atrocity. So that's just kind of my opinion on Oppenheimer. But according to the Academy, it's a great movie. But you know what? I will give it a watch. I think I just need to like be able to like center and like be in a good headspace when I do go to watch the movie in question. Next up, we have the Barbie movie. I love that movie, like I just said. I think it won where it was supposed to win, and that's all I'm gonna say on that. But Ryan Gosling and his performance of I'm Just Ken, amazing. The stage present was insane. And I saw like a lot of people like were surprised, and I was like, did y'all forget that Ryan Gosling was a musketeer? Like, and for those of you who don't know what that is, he was on the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse with like, I think he was there at the same time with like Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. Like, he was in the mix. He's always been a performer. I think he just went the acting route, but I think he did a really great job. But that kind of got the wheels turning in my head. Because I was like, I think about like a lot of the female performers, like most notably like this summer, like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, they are putting on performances. Like, there is singing, there is dancing. Those women are putting in work. Like, they are doing the thing. And it's like a lot of male performers I see are just kind of like standing there and jumping around. And I'm like, why are we not expecting that level? Like, what exactly are male performers like doing? And I'm going to be honest with you, if they're not just standing around and jumping around, they're just calling random women on stage and grinding on them. Like, they're not giving performance. But anyways, I thought Gosling did a very great job. Thought it was like a lot of fun. And the people at the Oscars seemed to enjoy it. But finally, that's that. Award season is finally over. now we can just go back to enjoying music and film without having to read think pieces on it. So XOXO. See you next year. Yeah, so that's it for the Oscars and like awards season in general. Okay, so that was part 1 of our episode. Part 2, we are getting into reality TV. So this like last month or so has been a lot for me. So I'm going to like walk you through how my week has been going. So Monday, The Bachelor airs. I usually end up watching that Tuesday. Tuesday, Vanderpump Rules airs. So I usually end up watching that Wednesday. I also am usually watching Love is Blind on Wednesday or Thursday. And then the rest of the week is just like catching up and getting all my thoughts in order. So when it comes to like TV, I've kind of like, you know, I'm always sad like at some point. So let's start with Love is Blind. We are going to go couple by couple. So, okay, so before I get into it, if you have not watched the weddings episode, stop here. As I am recording this, the reunion has not aired yet. It is currently Tuesday. Reunion is airing Wednesday. So all of that. I'm going to say it again. If you have not watched the weddings episode, final episode before the reunion, pause right here because it's going to be full of spoilers. Okay, we're going to start with Chelsea and Jimmy. And I have a hot take. I'm going to say it. I feel as if Chelsea's biggest crime is that the internet finds her annoying. Yes, she's always crying. Yes, she's always whining. But like, and yes, she's like, honestly, could be considered a little clingy or needy. But I feel like because Chelsea is so expressive and she's always crying or she's like yelling, like everybody's like, oh my God, she's so crazy. And nobody's paying attention to Jimmy. Because when I watch them interact, what I see, Jimmy's just like not doing the things he says he's gonna do. Granted, there are times where Chelsea kind of loses her marbles, and I'm gonna give you guys an example. So for example, when the whole thing with like Jimmy hanging out with his like girl best friend and Chelsea being like, you had sex with her, like whatever, and Jimmy being like, you just broke a boundary. What I saw from that scene was Chelsea kind of losing her marbles about him going out, whatever, because Jessica was there. I don't even know what that was. Like, again, I think Chelsea is very insecure, but it's because she can tell that man doesn't like her. Like, you know what I mean? And so that is what happened. So that happened. And then she like starts going in about like, oh, well, you were hanging out with this girl and like you slept, like you've been talking to her and texting her and hanging out with her one-on-one without me. That's what I gathered. And then they get into, and also when he was like, well, do you want me to take a step back from her? And she was like, yes, I would feel more comfortable if you did that. And he was like, I'm not going to do it. Like, everybody's like, oh, haha, that's so funny. And I'm like, actually, that's not funny. That's actually really manipulative. And he's like fucking with her in the head. Like, this isn't funny. Like, just because Chelsea is annoying, like, we are just ignoring, like, blatant, like, just nastiness from Jimmy. Like, what? And then that's when Chelsea's like, you slept with her, like, whatever. And then the whole conversation changed. So rather it being about Jimmy texting some girl all the time that he used to sleep with and going and hanging out with her without Chelsea one-on-one, now the whole conversation's about, well, Chelsea broke a boundary. Like, are we forgetting the original plot of the movie? Like, and I just see that happen like every single time they get into it. And I don't know. I just don't think they like should have gotten married I'm glad they did not make it to the altar. I just think ultimately they were not compatible. And I don't think Jimmy really liked her. And I think you broke a boundary. Like, Jimmy was probably upset about that. And he considered it his deepest, darkest secret that he was like, you know, slept with his girlfriend. But it just seemed like he was way more concerned about like Barbara, I think that was her name, her privacy rather than like how Chelsea was feeling. Like, again, he did not give a shit about how Chelsea felt. Like, as much as he wanted to pretend he did and as much as he was saying that, his actions never actually reflected that. Like, not too much on Jimmy though. Like, we are going to acknowledge that like Chelsea is very insecure and she has a lot of insecurities to work out, but we're also not going to sit here and pretend like everything Jimmy was doing and his inconsistencies did not exacerbate whatever it was that Chelsea was feeling. Like, we're not going to act like Jimmy was just a saint and wanted to, like, just help her through it. And I don't know. I think that ultimately him being like, well, you told me that you didn't feel like I loved you, and I do. And like, and I honestly, like, it is my opinion that like that relationship was over when the whole like, well, you wanted to have sex and like I didn't. Like, I wanted, the second he said that, I was like, this is over. Like, you cannot come back from that. Like, it's just was no. I'm glad they did not make it to the altar. I think that ultimately like Jimmy would have said no, I'm pretty sure. So they just didn't make it there. That's fine. Happens, like, whatever. I'm just glad they didn't waste our time with like a whole wedding. But from what I've seen, Jimmy and Chelsea were like out at lunch together. So I'm sure like things are fine with them. I also think like I do want to give them both grace. I don't think there are two contestants that I'm like, I think you guys aren't good people, and they're not Jimmy and Chelsea. Like, I think that like you're in such specific conditions that like this, you know what I mean? Like, I do want to give them grace. So maybe they're like good friends now. And I don't think that like either of them is a not good person. You know what I mean? And like, I think they probably were under so much stress and duress, they didn't even realize the shit that was like that they were doing. I genuinely believe that. Next up, we have I have to laugh because we have Clay and AD. Let's start with Clay. Okay, first of all, Clay and his whole like, oh, like my dad cheated on my mom like the whole time, like in their relationship, and like I don't know what a real relationship is like and all this other stuff. First of all, I don't know what about Clay to AD screamed I want to get married or that I'm even ready. The whole time he's telling his mother's business on national television. And he was like, you know, I never told my mom this. My dad would like bring me on like infidelity trips. Why are you saying that on national television? And honestly, I thought that it was so sinister to tell your mom this, years after the fact, because they've been divorced for like, I want to say like 20 years, I think they said. Wait, no, that's not accurate. No. But they've been divorced for a long time. And to just like, you know, all that pain his mom went through, like her husband dogging her out the entire marriage. And now she has to reckon with the fact that, oh, not only was he doing that to me, he was also involving my child. Like, you know, like at a point where it's like, why did she need to know that? And why were you on national television telling people that? Like, that's just like, to me, that just shows like a sort of like inconsiderateness. I don't know. Just, it's very inconsiderate to your mother. Like, she's already like gone through enough and you're telling the whole world that your daddy was taking you on infidelity trips. Like, is that necessary, Clay? Anyways. And then like, first of all, like, so that's Clay's whole thing. Clay's whole thing is like, I don't know if I can be a husband. I don't know if I could be a husband. Absolutely took me out when he was talking about, oh, I'm like watching old like seasons of Love is Blind to try to figure out how to be a husband. Like, he is not ready for marriage. Like, what are you guys talking about? And honestly, I knew that he was going to say no to AD. Like, I felt it in my spirit. But what really stood out to me was when AD's like coming down the aisle. Obviously, like, we know AD is very attractive. AD has the kind of body that people pay for. Like, she is very attractive. She's very pretty. She's got an amazing figure. Like, we know that she's attractive. And we obviously know that there is a physical attraction there. And she's walking down the aisle. And he goes, okay, body. If I'm walking down the aisle to my husband, well, fiance, to the man that is supposed to like be my husband, not a tear coming down his eyes. No, you look so beautiful. No, okay, body. What? Like, are you joking? And like, you know, like I saw a tweet and it was like they were talking to each other like they were in Instagram comments, and she was like, period. And I was like, this is so deeply unserious. And it's like they say their vows and they say everything, and Clay is like, okay, but like it wouldn't be responsible for me to like marry you. And I was like, you didn't have to take this to the aisle, Clayton. That was not necessary. Like, why did you do that? And then, they like leave and he's like, can I like give you a hug? Like, can I talk to you? Like, whatever. And I don't know. It was just like, again, like Clay is deeply unserious and it was very clear that he was not ready to get married. But now that we're done with Clay, we can't totally let AD off the hook. Like, all the signs were there. Like, I don't know, like maybe she just like didn't want to see them. And I think sometimes like when you are like very like infatuated with the person, like red flags don't seem to matter, but like it just seemed as if like she just really badly wanted to get married, and was just willing to like overlook a lot of stuff, and ultimately like Clay ended up doing what we all thought Clay was going to do. So, but I did see a video on the internet and like they were like I want to say it was like, I don't know if it was a birthday party or it seemed like a celebration of some sorts, but her and Clay were there together. So it would not surprise me if AD and Clay got back together because they, long sigh when it comes to AD and Clay. Next up, we have Kenneth and Brittany. If y'all recall, they basically split up. I want to say it was like the first or second episode that they were out of the pods. But I saw a TikTok the other day and Kenneth and Brittany, like she posted the TikTok, they were together. So who knows, reunions coming up. I am just like not very interested in anything they've got going on. Next, we have Amy and Johnny. So they're the only couple that got married. Amy and Johnny are fine. I just think like it's very odd to me that their biggest issue was like birth control. Like Amy was not on birth control and Johnny was like, well, I don't want to have a kid right now. And it was like, okay, well, they're these cheeky little things and they sell them at the grocery store. They're called condoms. Use them. And it was just like, I don't want to be on birth control. Well, I don't want to have a baby. Well, we can't have sex if like you're not on birth control and I really don't have a baby. And I'm like, this is your only conflict. Like, please. Like, honestly, you know what? Good for them. That was their only conflict, being unproblematic, because the rest of the cast had enough mess for us all. Next up, we have Laura, Sarah Ann, and Jeremy. So recap. Laura and Jeremy left the pods together. Sarah Ann and Jeremy, I think it was in between Laura and Jeremy. My comments on Laura is that, one, she's a little mean. And I don't think she's a bad person. I just think she's not somebody that's going to put up with any sort of bullshit from a man, which like I relate. Like she just seems like somebody that's like, I can't stand incompetent men. I don't want laziness. Pull your shit together. She's so real for that. Like that's a woman in her 30s. Like honestly, like I did think she was a little mean, but like whatever. But basically Laura and Jeremy were together. Jeremy went to a bar one night and she was like, Sarah Ann was there. And he was like, me and Sarah Ann just talked. Like we just talked. And he was like, we just were like at the bar until like 5 a.m. or something. Well, no, until like 4 something. And then he came home at like 5 a.m. And he was like, I shared my location with you. You should trust me. And then she goes, yeah, you shared your location. And then, so she was like, okay. And she's like, don't share your location with me if you don't want me to look. I saw at 5 a.m. you were like on a different side of town, which is where Sarah Ann lives. I heard through the grapevine that Jeremy left his left his phone in his car at the bar to try to like trick Laura or whatever, but he ended up being tracked on his Apple Watch, which I think is funny. And I was like, she was playing chess, he was playing checkers. Like she was not one to be played with. But anyway, so Laura and Jeremy broke up. And then at the little pool party, Sarah Ann comes and like her and Jeremy are talking and AD like confronts Sarah Ann as like, he didn't pick you. Like why you're giving other women, like it's giving pick me. Like what is this? And Sarah Ann is just like leaning into it and is like, nobody can tell me I did anything wrong. Like I was in this experience. Even on TikTok, she was like, like this is my experience, like all this other stuff. And I said, baby girl, no matter how you slice it, you're the other woman and you look a mess because he did not pick you. So it's giving second choice. And apparently Jeremy and Sarah Ann are still together. And that's that. I mean, they ran off in the jet skiing in Sunset and they just didn't really seem to care about what anybody else thought. But I will point out that AD is the only one that like confronted Sarah Ann, and even the guys like didn't talk to Jeremy about it. And I think that's just like very telling of like male friendship in general, is like men are just like, well, not my business. Oh, I don't want to be involved in that, when their friends are like out here acting like hussies or like doing just vile shit. And I just feel like, I don't know, that it was just giving male friendship. Like that's just what I saw. And it just was a little kind of like, like that's not cute, but like whatever. But Reunion airs the 13th of March. I am very, very excited. Yeah, so that's Love is Blind. Next up, we have The Bachelor. So I did not watch Monday's episode, which I think is Fantasy Suites Part 1. And so right now, in my brain, Rachel, Kelsey, and Daisy are the only ones there. I really like Kelsey. I like her a lot. I think she's fun. One thing about like this season is I feel like I'm not really getting a chance to like see everybody's personality. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know a thing about Joey besides the fact that he's a tennis coach and lives in Hawaii. Like, I don't even know that man's favorite color, but I know all the girls' mess. And I don't know if that's intentional, but I just think it's a little odd. Maria did leave, but honestly, like, this is a little bit like of a hot take of mine, but I'm not super into the like really spunky, like fun girl, like kind of bland and boring guy dynamic. I'm just kind of like, no, like, I hate to say it. And like, Joey's great, but like Maria is just like a little, she's just so cool. Like, she just has that energy, that confidence that like, I don't think he brings. Like, I think she's amazing and groundbreaking and awesome. My one thing about Maria is everybody's like, Maria for Bachelorette. And I'm like, no, I pray she is not the Bachelorette. I pray she is not on Paradise. I think like Maria can go so many places outside of the Bachelor franchise. Like, I just think like she should pull like a Tyler Cameron and be like friendly with everybody, but not be on Paradise, not be the Bachelorette, like live your life. Like, I think there's so many opportunities for her outside of Bachelor Nation. Like, I genuinely believe that. So my hot take is no Maria for the Bachelorette, because I think she's just like can go like miles ahead of Bachelor Nation. And she's an icon and I love her. So next up we have Vanderpump Rules, which is like a massive sigh. So let's talk a little bit. So I am all caught up with Vanderpump Rules as of March 12th. So let's talk a little bit. Let's just talk about Scandival in general. First of all, whatever redemption arc the producers and Lisa Vanderpump are trying to do for Tom Sandoval, I am not buying it. I am not buying a second of it. I do not think Ariana is wrong in any way, shape, or form. I will never think Ariana is wrong. I think that people saying she's doing too much and that her ego's too big or whatever are jealous, nasty snakes, and they're wrong. I also do not think it is irrational for Ariana to not want anything to do with people that have things to do with Tom Sandoval. Like, I feel as if, like, first of all, I want y'all to understand that what we are watching right now is filmed 3 months after what happened. And for those of you who have forgotten what happened, Ariana was with Tom, her life partner, for 10 years. She spent so much time with him. Like I said, they were life partners. Like, she was like in the process of freezing her eggs. She adapted so much for her life to be with Tom Sandoval, and he cheated on her with somebody that was supposed to be her friend. Like, guys, like, that's what he did. And I feel as if, like, a lot of people cut Tom Schwartz a lot of slack because he's nice and he's sweet and Tom isn't, like, a mean guy. But again, Tom knew. Schwartz and Sandoval orchestrated this whole thing to have Schwartz make out with Raquel to divert the attention from Tom and Raquel so that it looked like Schwartz and Raquel were a thing and not Tom and Raquel. Like, do you know how vindictive that is? Like, I feel like a lot of people are missing that. And I don't think it's irrational for Ariana to want nothing to do with Schwartz either. Like, what are y'all missing? Like, I'm so confused. And I just, like, I see the things people are saying, and I'm seeing how the other castmates are relating to Ariana. And, like, and honestly, you know what it is? Like, I think everybody wanted Ariana to be down and out and sad and all that other stuff, but she channeled that energy into, like, her work. And, like, some people need to take that time to be, like, down and out and sad and everything. And I think the cast would have been, like, rallying around her if she chose to just be sad and, like, cry all the time. But, like, they don't want to see her be successful. Like, that's what it is ultimately. Like, I think they're like, well, Ariana's doing fine and Tom's not. And I'm like, Tom is, like, also fine. Like, he has his own reality TV show. He just wants his friends back. And he realizes that, like, nobody, like, he realizes that he's been found out, in that nobody is buying, like, the things he says for a really long time. And I thought that whole retreat in Tahoe was bullshit. Which leads me to Miss Sheena Shea. Stassi Schroeder is not perfect. Stassi Schroeder has a lot of faults. But Stassi was never wrong about Sheena. Stassi clocked that from season 1, episode 1. I think it is absolutely ridiculous that Sheena is now like, I miss Tom. I miss my friend. And she's like, I don't want to keep hating him for you, to Ariana. First of all, wrong audience, baby girl. Like, that is just like, and she's like crying and being like, I miss Tom, I miss Tom, I miss Tom. This is my friend. Like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, whatever. I think, Scandival aside, or like what Sandoval did to Ariana aside, granted, Ariana's one of your best friends. Like, I'm sorry, but if one of my best friends was cheated on by her life partner, I don't care if I was friends with him. That man is dead to me. Like, point blank period. Like, I do not care if we had this long drawn out friendship. No. Like, some of my friends' exes, I hate their exes more than they do. Like, I do not play that. Also, Scandival aside, Sheena should be upset at how Tom treated her in general. Tom literally said, we were never really friends, sided with Raquel in getting some restraining order for Sheena, like, against Sheena, and, like, basically tossed her aside like she was literally chopped liver. And this is the friendship you're screaming, crying, and throwing up over? Like, Sheena, get a grip. This honestly is not about you. And obviously you are allowed to be sad for the friendship ending, but just the way she has gotten so condescending and made everything about her, and is, like, essentially trying to demonize Ariana and, like, make Ariana feel bad. Like, take that somewhere else. I also, like I said, I find it interesting how the cast is, like, weirdly turning on Ariana. And so for those of you who haven't seen the preview to this week's episode, Sheena talks about how she wanted to be on Dancing with the Stars. For those of you who don't know, Ariana was on Dancing with the Stars last season. She killed it. Love her. But Sheena was like, Ariana knew that I want to be on Dancing with the Stars. A couple questions for you. Number one, what was Ariana supposed to say no and be like, give it to Sheena instead? Number two, where did you gather that if Ariana wasn't on Dancing with the Stars, you would have been? Where'd you get that? And Sheena made, like, a kind of nasty comment and was like, she's come a long way from being my backup dancer. Again, like, it's just, like, nasty jealousy, and I don't know. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, from what I'm seeing on the show, 3 months after this man blew up her entire life, Ariana's honestly handling this with grace. She really is. Like, she's handling the situation with grace. Like, I'm so confused. But whatever. Like I said, Stassi Schroeder was right about Sheena, and she always has been. And this is my final point on Vanderpump Rules. I, again, am not buying this redemption arc. I don't think Sandoval is genuinely sorry. I don't think he's genuinely sorry in the show. And even a year later, I don't think he's genuinely sorry. He is getting on there and talking about, like, they were being mean to me and they made money off their podcast and all this other stuff. I think that, and then his whole, like, comparing what happened to, like, O.J. Simpson and George Floyd, like, you know, that sort of publicity, I think is absolutely asinine. I think that Tom Sandoval was always like this. And I would argue that he was like this with Kristen. But Kristen was a crazy ex-girlfriend, and she was this, that, and the third. And Kristen had her faults. So we completely ignored the fact that Tom Sandoval is a raging narcissist, and he always has been. He just has been found out and is whining about it now. So that's Vanderpump Rules. I honestly, and this may be a hot take, but like Vanderpump Rules was more fun when they were all like waiters working at Sir. It's just now this like Scandival thing. I'm just like, I'm over those other castmates. Like, give me Ariana and Katie on a show. Just like the rest can go do something else. I'm over it. And also honorary mention, I really like Allie. I think she is one, good for James, and two, like, is a voice of reason. I actually really like her. And Brock, I don't know what he's doing there. Oh, whatever. So that's all on Vanderpump Rules. I'm still going to be tuning in. I just hope that like the cast pulls it together and does not turn against Ariana, but unfortunately I'm kind of seeing things go in that direction. So, but that is the end of this episode. Like, thanks for tuning in. We talked about the Oscars. We talked about reality TV. We absolutely loved it. I am so excited for next week's episode. I think next week's episode is probably going to be might be a little bit on like the shorter side, or maybe not. I haven't exactly fleshed it out, but I'm really excited for next week's episode. I don't have an I'm rattled today. I feel as if like I've gotten to a point in my life where like the dust is just kind of settled and I'm like chill now, and I'm like really taking this time to like figure out like, okay, what's what. Like I'm finally in a space where like it's just time to figure things out. And like a little sneak peek to like next week's episode, I'm actually very excited for Aries season, for all the astrology girlies. So that's that. Like, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for listening to me chit chat about a bunch of things every single week. You guys are awesome. Very grateful to have you guys listen all the time. Like I said, I want to keep updating the Instagram and our TikTok. The YouTube video of this episode will be out the 18th, and that's that. Yeah, thank you again. Thanks for listening. Remember to spill tea all day, learn more about yourself, ask the big questions, and remember not to take yourself too seriously in the process. I'll see you guys when I see you. Bye!